Presentation of Dialogue on Idaho Public Television is made possible through the generous support of the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation, committed to fulfilling the Moore family's legacy of building the great state of Idaho.
Say hello to Boundary County if you make it up that way. I don't get around as much as I did in my younger days.
Coming up next on a special one-hour edition of Dialogue, a conversation with Idaho singer-songwriter Elin Jewell about her music and her life, including her newest release, Daughter Mavis. You'll also hear Jewell sing some of the songs that are delighting fans around the world. That's Dialogue next. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Dialogue. I'm Marcia Franklin here in Boise at the Record Exchange, Idaho's largest independent music store. With thousands and thousands of musical acts, how does a performer stand out? Well, Idaho singer-songwriter Elin Jewell and her band have been doing just that. With their unique Americana sound and more than a half dozen albums to their name, including some on vinyl like these, the group has been garnering fans worldwide. Elin grew up in Boise, but left the state for many years, including living in Boston. Now she's come home. I asked her why and also about what inspires her music in a conversation taped at Audio Lab in Garden City, where she recorded her most recent album. And earlier in the year, when she was still pregnant with her daughter Mavis, we filmed a concert of hers at the Sapphire Room in Boise. Whether you already know about Elin Jewell and her music, or you're just learning about her, I hope you enjoyed this special edition of Dialogue.
Well, welcome back to Idaho, Elin. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Why did you want to come back to Idaho?
Well, I was homesick. That's the short version of the story. I was very homesick. I moved back here, so it's been now 2 years. So I was 33 when I moved back, and I hadn't lived here in Idaho since I was 18. So I was ready to come back home. I miss my family. My whole family is still here in Idaho. I love the East Coast. I love Boston. Don't get me wrong, but I just never quite felt at home there. I always felt a bit crowded, and I'm a girl who needs a little elbow room. I think I'm just Western by nature, so it was just really good to come home.
You have a song on your latest album called My Hometown, about Boise. I love the lyrics to it.
Thank you.
Talk about why you wanted to write a song about where you grew up.
Well, a big part of it was honestly, I guess you could say I was in mourning after Newtown, the shootings at Newtown. And I thought, wow, there's so much love here in Boise. And I just really wanted to kind of share that. That's really kind of what stands out for me about Boise, is there's just this kindness.
If kindness could be held, it would feel like where I'm from. The soft greeting of a neighbor, the warm hand of a stranger, patience each with the other, embracing a sister or brother. If I could hold it in my palm, to the world I'd pass it on, or to any who might not have found the kindness of my hometown.
the album itself was recorded right
here. That's right. That's right, yeah. The album is a very Idaho album, and I think Idaho has always played a part in my previous albums. It's in the West in general is where I draw a lot of inspiration. But this one is extra Idaho because not only was it completely written here in Idaho, but it was also recorded here, and all of our guest musicians are Idahoans. So I really feel like I fully came home with this one.
Well, now you have another reason to be home. You have a child, Mavis.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she gets to grow up in the same place that you did.
She does, yeah. I was just thinking about this the other day. She's a 5th generation Idahoan, born in Idaho, but 6th if you count the original Jewel who came from Wisconsin with the gold rush to Idaho City. So she's definitely continuing the tradition of the family.
How is she named? Is she named after Mavis Staples, by the way?
She is named after Mavis Staples, yeah,
Why
the gospel singer.
Why did you want to name her after Mavis?
Well, Jason, my husband, and I had seen Mavis Staples a couple times, and we were just every time just blown away by her stage presence and her. We met her too in Utah, of all places, and she was so gracious and just genuine and a true inspiration for us. And we wanted her to have a really strong namesake. And she was born on a Sunday, so she has a double gospel singer name. Her middle name is Rosetta, named after Rosetta Tharpe, who was a pioneering gospel woman singer and guitar player. And so she's got the double whammy gospel name.
Well, we'll talk about your gospel band later. Tell me about your name, Elin.
My name is supposedly a Scots Gaelic name. It's a variation on the form of Ellen or Eileen or Elaine.
So tell me a little bit about growing up here and your involvement with music. You started early, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I started at age 7 with the piano, and that was my first love. I have always been a pretty shy person, so I never saw myself as the kind of person who would willingly get on stage. I never thought I would be a professional musician. It all kind of happened by accident, you might say. I loved the piano. It was my idea to take the piano at age 7. I was kind of one of those odd children who had to beg their parents, please let me take piano lessons. I guess I learned afterwards that it wasn't the norm to really want to do it, but of course I didn't really ever want to practice, and nothing really has changed in that regard.
Did you sing at a young age too, in addition to playing the piano?
I would, I would make up little songs about the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, and popsicles. Those were my favorite topics back then. I just could entertain myself for hours doing that, recording on cassette tape and making little plays on. My dad had a closed circuit security camera for some reason that we dug out of storage and just went to town with. In, when was it, late junior high or somewhere early high school years, I got interested in the guitar, and that has proved to be a lot more portable. And I kind of taught myself mostly on the guitar, but I did take guitar lessons from a local musician here, Jonah Shue, when I was about 15, I want to say. And he's been my only guitar teacher. I think it was probably lasted about 9 months. I was very undisciplined with the guitar. And then when I went to college, that was kind of when I started performing for people willingly. With the piano, I had these recitals that I just had to do. I had to get through them, and I dreaded them all year long. I used to say that my favorite day of the year was the day after the piano recital, because I had 364 more days to go before I had to do another piano recital.
And yet now you're belting it out on stage.
High shelf booze, the high shelf booze you won't catch me dead with no blue.
Somehow I learned to take that fear and make it into a good thing.
You busked, didn't you, on the streets of, I want to say, LA and Boston?
Yeah, and well, originally in Santa Fe. That was
Santa
where
Fe,
I
you
first
went to
started
college.
busking. Yeah.
So that must be a great training ground. You're out there singing for dollars.
Yeah, it was really a good way to just sort of slide into the performance thing. I think the stage would have been too overwhelming if I had just gotten up there and started, going for it. So singing on the streets for whoever cared to stop and listen was just the thing for me. And I often recommend that for people just starting out. If you're afraid to get going, or you just don't know how to start with performing in front of other people, just take your guitar case and set it out on the street and start playing and see what happens, because that's what I did.
How did you develop your vocal style? Because again, like, you're soft-spoken in person, and you really can go at it on stage.
I feel like I'm still developing my vocal style. I don't really, well, for lack of a better way of saying it, I don't really know what I'm doing up there. It's just, I just go for it and do what comes naturally.
And suddenly it happened. I lost every dime, but I'm richer by far with a satisfied mind.
I've thought about taking vocal lessons before, but I don't really want to lose that natural quality, because my favorite singers are the ones who just seem to be doing it in their sleep and maybe don't have conventional voices like Billie Holiday and Howlin' Wolf. And those voices right there, I think, are two examples of, you wouldn't teach someone how to sing like that, but to me they're just the most impactful, more so than anyone who's really polished and plays by all the rules,
So is something passing through you then? Is that what it feels like when you're on stage?
That's a good way of describing it. It's it's not really me, I don't feel. It's almost like an out-of-body experience to be up there on stage, because I've kind of gotten used to this idea of me as a shy, kind of reserved individual, and so certainly that's not me up there on stage singing, sometimes dancing around and shaking a maraca. And I think it's just music. It's the magic of music that can really transform.
Tell me about your guitarist.
Jerry Miller, the guitarist, yeah. There's a lot to be said about him. He's an amazing guitarist. He was in a band with Johnny Shasha, my upright bass player, called The Coachmen. It was a kind of a truckin' band. They did a lot of truckin' songs and Western swing. And Jason and I are huge fans of theirs.
Yeah, he's really incredible.
Yeah, and he can play anything with strings, maybe even anything at all, any instrument. His playing is a real personality. I think he does most of his communication through his guitar, and I just love it. I never get sick of hearing him play. He's incredible.
I return every last time
had, I don't know how many different styles pinned to you. Rockabilly, blues, alt country, Americana, roots.
Even jazz, which I
Jazz.
don't even know a single jazz chord, but I'll take it.
Do you care if you're in a genre or not? Or does it please you to be part of a lot of genres?
Sometimes I care. Sometimes it bugs me that I don't have a really simple response for what kind of music do you play? I have to really think about it. Like, let's see, how do I describe it? Americana has become a catch-all phrase for just exactly what I do. You know, a little of this, a little of that, kind of American mutt music, you know. But mostly I really like not being pinned to one genre, because if I do want to make an album of all Loretta Lynn songs, I didn't do anything too far from that before. There's elements of everything in each album, so if I want to go, take it in one specific direction, I can do that without feeling like I'm gonna just scare everybody away.
Why did you want to make an album of Loretta Lynn songs?
I am a big Loretta Lynn fan. Mavis might have been named Loretta had it not been for
I wondered about that
Sunday.
actually.
Yeah, being born on Sunday though, it really sealed the deal. Loretta Lynn is a huge inspiration for me. I really wanted to do an album of all songs that she wrote because I wanted to highlight her as a songwriter. I really didn't feel like that had been done before that. Jack White's album came out right after that for the record. So I just wanted to kind of highlight her as a songwriter, but also I love singing her songs because they stretch my vocal range. They're really challenging for me. And they're also really fun because she sings about things like, you ain't woman enough to take my man. She's so cheeky. It's really a lot of fun to sing her songs.
Well, you've got one of her songs that you sing, Fist City, right?
Yeah, that's another cheeky one. That's about as cheeky as it gets. And I think that might be one of our most requested songs, oddly enough. It's violent, it's politically incorrect. I don't personally believe that a woman should be, beating up another woman over a man, but yet I love to sing that song.
Everyone loves a cat fight song, right? I don't know, I saw some people not applauding. They're like, no, this is inappropriate. Well, maybe you should hear it first. This is a Loretta Lynn tune, Put This on Butcher Holler, and it came out originally in the 60s. We released it in 2010, I believe, and here's Fist City.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, you've been making your brags around town. You've been loving my man. But the man I love, when he picks up trash, he puts it in a garbage can. And that's what you look like to me. And what I see is a pity. You better close your face and stay out of my way if you don't want to go to Fist City. If you don't want to go to Fist City, you better detour around my town. 'Cause I'll grab you by the hair of the head
Another one that I think is requested a lot that I enjoy is Bang, Bang, Bang.
Right. That, it's funny, I just said I don't really, believe in this violent approach, and yet that song I did write, and it is a bit violent. It's a song about the randomness of love. I had been thinking a lot about how random love is, and how there's really no explaining why two people fall in love. It just happens or it doesn't. And I think that's why traditionally Cupid is a baby and is blindfolded. It's like, kind of makes sense. This is who is in charge of love. But I think they got it slightly wrong in the myth with the bow and arrow. I think it's heavy artillery that he has.
I'm concerned about you, and I want you to know the truth about Cupid, because he appears to be this really sweet little guy, and he is not. He's a psychopath, and he's dangerous, and he's armed. He's deadly, and I think it's time we all just spoke the truth about him, really. And I'm just worried about you guys, So this is called Bang, Bang, Bang.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That little Cupid, he's a real sharpshooter. I don't believe he's got an arrow and bow. People all think he just couldn't be cuter, but I saw him down at the gun show. He appeared to be about 2 years of age, a really freaky thing to see. He was bragging about his sawed-off 6-gauge, hidden right up his tattered sleeve. I asked him if the gun had a sight. How can you hit your mark that way, little Cupid? He just laughed outright. He said, I don't take aim, I just bang, bang, bang. I don't take aim, I just bang, bang, bang. He fired off a few hot rounds right into the sorry crowd. No blood, no gore, no one hit the ground. They all just fell in love with whoever they happened to be around. It's funny till it happens to you. Be sure you stay well out of his way. Love is careless, random, and cruel. He don't take aim, he don't take aim, he just bang, bang, bang. He don't take aim, he just bang, bang, bang. He don't take aim, he just bang, bang, bang. True story.
While you're somewhat difficult to categorize, you have accepted the moniker, the Queen of the Minor Key. That was given to you by your band members, is that right?
Actually, a musician friend of ours, he, back in Boston, he introduced me. We were doing a show together, and he said, okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you the Queen of the Minor Key, and he kind of had a smirk on his face, like he was, I think he meant it as a way of making fun of me a little bit for all the songs in minor keys that I write. And at first I did kind of chafe at it a little bit. I was kind of embarrassed, and going back to what I said about being sort of a reserved, shy person, I thought, well, gosh, maybe I should try to write more songs in major keys and not that spooky, kind of klezmer sound that I sort of gravitate towards. And I did try, honestly, for one album, and every song that I would write it just kept, not every song, but almost every song. Oh, here's another one in a minor key, sorry. Finally, I just decided I'm just gonna take it and run with it because it's what I do. And
what do you like about the minor key? I happen to like it very much. Some people think it sounds sad, but I don't.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily sad. It's I like the spookiness of it. That's what I gravitate towards. I like that haunting quality that it has. Even as a kid, I remember really liking that sound. I really gravitated towards the Nocturnes by Chopin. I think they're almost all in minor keys, and they have that nighttime quality that I just love. It's a kind of way of saying the queen of melancholy, or the queen of dark streets and rain at night. It's hard to really put into words, but
Well, sadness is a part of life.
yeah, and I think in our culture a much ignored part of life, and for some reason I've taken it on myself to bring that out. A lot of my songs are sad in nature, but that's part of what keeps me a happy person, I think.
Well, Rain Roll In is a song like that, I think. If you just listen to the lyrics itself, only one constant, nothing stays the same, no one will remember my name, you would think, oh, maybe depressing. It doesn't sound that way to me. For me, it's an inspirational song.
Oh, thanks, good. Yeah, that's how I intended it. And that one is actually in a major key because of that. I didn't want it to be too much of a dirge. And I wanted it to kind of, to say, let go, I wanted the message behind it to be, let's enjoy life while we can and let go of the rest. I don't feel like we have to do nothing. We should just sit here and listen to the rain roll in.
There's only one constant in this whole world. That's nothing ever stays the same. Someday my life will be over and no one will remember my name. That's alright, 'cause what's in a name? And who needs another one to memorize anyway? Make no fuss over my grave. Just plant something pretty and call it a day. Let's just listen to the rain roll in. I don't feel like we gotta do nothing. The years go by and before too long, even the very last one is gone. The very last one is gone.
That's something I kind of try to remember when I tend to cling to things a bit, and it's in a way coming from maybe a more Eastern or existential place. It's okay. All things must pass,
No one ever said it would always be good. If they did, they were just wrong. But I've loved it all and I'll miss it when I'm gone. My life's been my art and I've told it in my song. Let's just listen to the rain roll in. I don't feel like we gotta do nothing. The years go by and before too long, even the very last one is gone. The very last one is gone.
So your first album was called Boundary County,
That's
which
right.
many people in Idaho will recognize. Obviously, it's the furthest north, northern county. The song is probably my favorite of yours. I just love it.
Thank you.
Now, of course, you mentioned sagebrush in there, and there isn't really sagebrush in Boundary County, but
Only an Idahoan would know that, yeah.
I love the song. Tell me about the song.
Well, it was meant to be, not literal, obviously, not a true depiction of the actual Boundary County, but it kind of comes from when I was little and I would study maps of Idaho, on long road trips or whatnot. I would think about like all the parts of Idaho I'd never been to, and trying to imagine, a lot of these little towns and little, monuments or whatnot on the map and places that just seem so interesting. A lot of what I found really compelling about Idaho, at least mentally, is these names. And Boundary County to me just sounded like this amazing, faraway, beautiful place. And it kind of became synonymous in my imagination with all places beautiful and far away, and Western. And so my way of depicting that was to kind of give it a southern Idaho feel with the, the barbed wire and the sage and the giant blue sky. And when I wrote it, I was still living in Boston, so it's I think it shows how homesick I was at the time. I just was laying around daydreaming about Idaho.
Say hello to Boundary County if you make it up that way. I don't get around as much as I did in my younger days. I was raised in that country, so pure and so fair, but I took too hard to the whiskey, wandered away from there, wandered away from there. Well, I miss the barbed wire and the sage on that wild northern range, the giant staring sky like a bright tragic blue eye. Why I left, I can't say why. I can't say why. Say hello to Boundary County for me. She's prettier than dreams. And if you've been someplace so far away, you've really seen some things. Well, those miles and miles of steel rail are a one-way track. No matter how hard I try, I never make it back. I never make it back. I miss those violet hills and the sweet smell of the fields. Reach their arms out so wide, like heaven's only bride. Why I left, I can't say why. I can't say why. Every man serves his time. I know I've done my share, but when that old roll is called, you will find me there in Boundary County. If you make it up that way, I don't get around as much as I did in my younger days. In my younger days.
You mentioned that your success was kind of almost a surprise, that you hadn't necessarily planned to be on stage. Talk a little bit about how that happened.
Busking was really the roots of it. From busking in Santa Fe, I went to LA to try busking on Venice Beach there. I say try. I did busk for an entire summer. That's all I did, every day, all day. It was amazing. I loved it. And then went to Boston shortly after that and tried busking there. Didn't help that it was winter, and the only place remotely warm enough to busk there was in the subway. and it was filthy. People were grouchy. It was kind of the opposite experience of being on Venice Beach, where, you know, it was just gorgeous and perfectly warm, and I could hop in the ocean if I wanted to. Here I was in the subway, huddled over my guitar with the gloves with the fingers cut off the tops, you know, and like, here's my songs. And I don't think I lasted more than a few tries. I might be blocking some of that out, but it was kind of a good thing because it really urged me to get on stage. I couldn't get too comfy as a busker there, so I met the man who is now my husband, Jason Beek, in Boston, and he knew a lot of local musicians, and he said, "You want to put a band together? I know just the people." And he introduced me to Johnny Shasha, who's still my bass player, and Jerry Miller, who's still my electric guitar player, and a bunch of other folks, and we got gigs somehow. We only knew a few songs, but we got some gigs, and I loved playing with a band. Even when I was busking, I had this dream. I knew that I would want to be in a band because I tend to just really like the sound of bands over solo artists, and it was just a real dream come true. And you know, from there it just kind of built slowly. We had a gig, then we had 2 gigs, then we had 3 gigs, and then before we knew it, the label that we're on, Signature Sounds, heard the first album that we put together on money that I borrowed from my mom. They heard that album, they liked it, they signed us. Booking agent happened because the label happened, and then suddenly we're touring. The more you tour, and then that's it, you know, we're off and running. And now I feel like the trick now is to put the brakes on a little, you know, because we do need to save our sanity, and especially with little Mavis here now, got to kind of ease off the gas a little bit.
How did you meet Jason?
We met through a mutual friend, a musician friend, man by the name of Dan Fram, who I went to college with in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And he met Jason because Jason had a really great radio show out of MIT in the Boston area. And we all liked the same weird old music. You know, like the old blues artists like Memphis Minnie and I mean, there's so many, Reverend Charlie Jackson, and you know, all these old blues artists and gospel greats, and we love these strange old musical acts. And so basically, Dan Fram said, "You two should know each other. You both like weird music." And
What is he for you in the band? Because he's not just your husband; he's also
Right.
an integral part of your band.
He is music to me. I mean, I couldn't imagine doing music the way I do now without him. He's my drummer and my manager, and it works out really well. Also, yeah, the father of my child, and he's a man who wears many hats.
You guys sure have some sweet harmony on Rio Grande.
Thank you. Yeah, that's all Jason. I just tell him I want harmony on this part, and he figures it out. That's another one of the hats that he wears. He can sing backup harmony like I don't know how he does it, honestly.
A bad luck boots in my hard luck hand. A cold black thoughts reappear every man. Hold my head.
Yeah, I haven't had any training, any singing training.
Or drum lessons.
Or drum lessons, yeah.
It's just a total natural.
So I sang in like a rock band in high school, but I never really harmonized with anyone. I never tried to do it until I joined Elon's band. So it's kind of been a trial by fire thing.
When you hear Elon's music, or lyrics, or singing, what comes to mind for you? How do you hear it?
Wow, that's a really good question. I remember the first time I heard Elon singing, we always joke about it. You know, first time I heard her sing, I told her that when I hear you sing, I think, wow, I want to marry that girl. and that was pretty freaked out thing for Elin to hear. First time she met me.
No one had ever used a line like that on me before, and I was very nonplussed. I did not know what to say about that, and he said that I looked like I had just seen a ghost, like I was very afraid of him after that. But I married him.
It's a long and lonesome highway. It's a bitter shade of blue. Oh, my love, my sweet love.
Elin has such a soulful and calming, soothing voice. It kind of, I don't know, I feel like it really transports people, you know, someplace. And time really has a way of stopping when she's singing. Yeah, time stops. It's amazing, you know, any tune she sings when she gives it the, you know, if it's a cover song or her own song, she gives it the Elin Jewell treatment.
I never had much money. I never been quite satisfied. But you can weave the unraveled strings and ease my worried mind. You ease my worried mind.
You have a new song dedicated to Mavis. Tell me about it.
Well, Mavis, her name is, besides being named after Mavis Staples, the gospel singer, we looked into the name and we found out that it also has an added meaning. It's an Old English word for songbird. And I thought that was pretty fitting for her, being the daughter of two musicians. So, you know, it really fits her also. And I wrote this song about her, and it's called Songbird. Oh, songbird, in my darkest night, you sing so sweetly I can't be afraid. Over my path your song casts a light so bright, so real, I won't lose my way. I set true north by you, so all directions too. Songbird, what did I do before you? What did I do before you? Oh, songbird, in my weariest day, a few sweet notes is all I need. And I see without warning a precious ray of magic in each ordinary thing. You illuminate, renew, take the sad out of the blue. Songbird, what would I do without you? What would I do without you? How'd you get so strong, such a little thing? Is it your song that makes you brave? My whole world rests on those tiny wings, but you don't seem to mind the weight. I set true north by you, so all directions too. Songbird, what did I do before you? What did I do before you? What did I do before you? Oh, she was moved to tears by it.
You don't write your songs at home, do you? You go
No.
away to write them.
Yeah, I can't write at home. I've tried, but I'm just too distracted by things at home. The kitchen always calls me. I always figure out something that I suddenly need to bake, or some soup that needs to be made. When I want to write, I have to go away, and it's almost always into the mountains of Idaho.
And people in Idaho will recognize at least one place where you like to write, which is Bergdorf Hot Springs.
Yeah.
What is it about Bergdorf and that area that frees your mind and allows you to write?
I think it's the simplicity of life there, the lack of running water and electricity, and it just really takes me away from all the things that distract me. Can't really do much cooking, can't really play around on the computer or work in the yard like I often tend to do when I'm at home. So it just really strips life down to its bare essentials.
Going back to enjoying older modes of music, types of music, you also, don't you make vinyl? Don't you make records, old-time records?
Oh yeah.
Old time,
actual-
listen to me. I grew up with records. I'm dating myself right now.
Vinyl, yeah, we put our albums on vinyl. Actually, only 2 so far have been pressed on vinyl, but our latest 2. So
You see that happening more and more. It's
Yeah.
coming back, right?
it's definitely coming back, and I'm so glad because Jason and I at home, that's all we listen to is vinyl, and I think it's been that way pretty much since we met.
Why?
I think it sounds better.
also
I think
has,
it feels better to put a record on than to put a
Just my
CD on
color,
or
just my
an
kind.
MP3. I love the whole sensory experience of picking up an old album, looking at the big cover, you know, the artwork that you can actually see, taking out the record and putting it on, and you have to be nearby to take the needle off and flip it if you want to keep listening. I just love that whole thing. So yeah, we do that. We do vinyl, and it's a really big hit in Europe. There are a lot of folks over there who say, I don't buy CDs, I will only buy vinyl, and I've already bought your 2 that are out on vinyl, so when are you going to press the other ones?
And Sacred Shakers, that is a gospel group that you formed.
Yeah.
Tell me about why that music moves you. Is it from a religious perspective, or is it something else?
Well, I'm not religious at all. I have never really been very religious. I think what appeals to me about gospel music is the conviction behind it. There's just this sense of absolute certainty that I love, and I find it really comforting. I don't find a lot of comfort in religion itself, and in fact, I mostly see the ways in which religion has hurt a lot of folks in the world. But the spirit behind gospel music, I think, is really where it's at. And I think it captures all the good things about religion and puts them into song.
You sing 12 Gates to the City.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 12 Gates to the City is one of my favorites to perform, partly because Jerry Miller, the guitar player, gives it such a great rockabilly feel. But I love the repetition of the word hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. It's this, how else to describe that conviction and that joy.
Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. There's 12 gates to the city. Hallelujah. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. There's 12 gates to the city. Hallelujah. I'm going on down to the river. I'll take my sword off in the sand. I'm gonna shout my troubles over. I done made it to the promised land. Well, 12 gates to the city. Hallelujah. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. There's 12 gates to the city. Hallelujah. city, hallelujah.
I mean, wouldn't that be so comforting to really have that conviction? I myself don't, and I admire people who do. But that's what singing that music really kind of does for me, at least temporarily. It gives me that joy.
There's 3 gates in the east and 3 gates in the west, 3 gates in the north and 3 gates in the south. Well, there's 12 gates to the city, hallelujah. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. There's 12 gates to the city, hallelujah. Yeah, 12 gates to the city, hallelujah.
What has this success been like for you?
It's been great. Yeah, I mean, music has taken me to places I never thought possible, and it really has saved me in a way, because I don't think of myself as a very employable person. I'm a terrible employee, actually, and if people, you know, didn't come to see my shows and support me, I don't know how I would make a living, honestly. My dear and very wise great aunt once told me, I say aunt, I've been on the East Coast too long. My great aunt told me that I should have a plan B. You know, music is great. It's a really good path for you, but you should have a plan B and make sure that you keep that in your pocket. And ever since she told me that was 2004, I believe, I've been trying to come up with a plan B, and I can't. So, I mean, 10 years I've been racking my brain, like, I know, it really would be the wise thing to do to have a plan B, but I just don't. Music is it for me. It's plan A and B.
How do you see your trajectory from here on out? I know you said you're trying to take a bit of a breather now, having just had a child, but where are some of the areas that you see yourself going?
Well, that's an excellent question. Our future is a bit uncertain because of my new role as a mother, and I have to say that that is always going to come first. Being a mother is more important to me than anything else, but just assuming that Mavis will go along with us and we'll find a great nanny situation, I really want to keep being on the road. I really want to get back to Europe at least once a year. We didn't go this year, and they are ready to riot over there, honestly. We keep getting these messages on Facebook, you know, we miss you in Spain. And so we've made so many friends over around the globe that we really feel kind of this itch to get back and see them and perform for them. So I want to kind of get back to where we were, only bring Mavis along with us, and continue on the path wherever it may lead me. And I'm hoping that that's to bigger and better venues, more and more fans and bigger audiences. And I don't have great ambition to be a superstar. I wouldn't want that. I'm just too shy for any kind of stardom. But I love where my career's at right now. It pays the bills. We own a nice little home in the North End here, and we have plenty of food on the table. And what more could I ask for? You know, and I get to travel so much, and so I really just am very grateful for what I have already.
My life is over, and my time has run out. Thank you so much, Boise. Thanks to Idaho Public Television for being here tonight. Thanks again to Idaho Songwriters Association. We love you, Boise. Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more from Elin Jewell in the future. That's all the time we have. I hope you've enjoyed this special edition of Dialogue. If you'd like to learn more about Elin or watch the program again, check out the Dialogue website. Just go to idahoptv.org and click on Dialogue. For Dialogue, I'm Marcia Franklin. Thanks for tuning in.
We've got to get together, oh yeah, sooner the better, oh yeah. I just can't wait to be held in his arms if I were a queen. And he asked me to leave my throne. I'd do anything that he asked, anything to make him my own. But he's so fine, oh yeah, so fine, so fine, so fine, so fine, so fine, so fine.
That was Elin Jewell, the best celebrity I know.
Presentation of Dialogue on Idaho Public Television is made possible through the generous support of the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation, committed to fulfilling the Moore family's legacy of building the great state of Idaho.